Welcome to Shaped by Faith. I'm Theresa Rowe, where we shape our bodies and hearts for God's purposes. My guest today on the phone is Tony Rowe. Tony is a 6-time Kentucky cross-country and track high school coach of the year, and he's co-head coach of the men's and women's cross-country and track and field coach at Kentucky Wesleyan College. Tony and his wife Pam have 2 sons, Mark and Matt, both high school cross-country and track coaches, and 1 grandson. In 2019, his son Mark joined Tony as a co-head track and field coach and cross-country coach at KWC. Welcome, Tony, to Shaped by Faith.
It's good to be here. And by the way, the Lord has given us more grandchildren since we talked. So we've got 2 grandsons and 2 granddaughters. I'm thankful for that.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, ma'am.
There's nothing like them, is there?
They're terrific. They have our hearts. For sure.
It's really hard to explain. We have grandchildren, and just, wow. I mean, there's just such a love. You just cherish them. Well, I'm so happy for you and Pam and your sons and your daughter-in-laws. Let's talk about cross-country and track. So I want to know from you, Tony, when did your love of cross-country and track begin?
You know, actually, we were always pretty physical. I had 2 or 3 brothers and sister, and growing up, we were just kind of competitive, and running was just a part of it. But in the 6th grade in elementary school, we had one day we went out for recess, and the teacher said we're going to have a 600-yard run, and I was excited about that, and I did real well. I came in second, and people that could hit a ball farther than me or shoot baskets better, stuff like that, I kind of wore them out a little bit, and so we did the same thing again that following week, and I got second again. But that kind of encouraged me, and so when I got to the junior high, at Southern Junior High, we went out for track and cross country. My brother ran the mile, and they asked me what event I'd like to run, and I said, you know, I wouldn't mind running like my brother the mile, and they said, well, we have plenty of milers. How about the 2 mile? And I said, that's fine with me. And so it kind of pointed my direction, and I didn't have a lot of speed, but I had good endurance, and then from there went to high school, and when we got under the tutelage of Bob Puckett, the cross country coach at Owensboro High School, then it just took off from there, and I've loved every minute of it.
Is running easy for you, Tony?
Not as easy as it used to be.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean, when you started running, did it feel like, oh my gosh, this is so hard, or was it something that came natural for you?
I think it's something that came natural, but we were so active as kids also, it wasn't a huge adjustment. And I've always said that endurance builds fairly quickly, especially when you're young. It's just a matter of staying with it. And it's for me, it's always just been, I guess, is the right direction for me to be, the right sport for me to be in, and there's almost like the longer the better, you know.
What is it about running and track that you love, especially with the longer runs?
You know, I think it's just part of it's just you can run with people, and I enjoy that, but just I can go out on a run by myself, and just a solitude of it. And a lot of time I use it as time to pray and that kind of thing. But it's just something about, challenging your body a little bit and knowing that you're doing something that has a payoff, a fitness payoff. But it's just, I think it's a way to kind of escape pressure and escape stress and that kind of thing too. But I don't know, I guess it's just, if you've been in it as long as I have, just the whole aspect of it, it kind of, you just learn to appreciate it almost like you would a friend, Mm-hmm. And I've always thought that running has been a good friend of mine in my life, and I've been blessed to be able to do that.
And it's especially a blessing when you can use it to honor God. And as you said, you pray and run and I do that in fitness, pray and work out. It's just, there's just a different feeling about that you're not just doing it for yourself, but you're doing it also to bring glory to God, just by taking care of these bodies that He's given us. You've had some great coaches in your career, obviously, and, while you were in high school and most likely when you were in college. So what are some life lessons that you learned from one of your coaches, or maybe from a few?
Well, like I mentioned, in high school, we had my cross-country coach was Bob Puckett, and Ken Willis was his assistant. Our track coach was Terry Wigden one year, and then in college at Eastern Kentucky, I had a guy named Art Harvey. But I think that the main thing I learned was just work ethic. We had a lot of success, especially when I was at Owensboro High School. The team did, but we worked so hard that it seems like when I got to college, and that was in the day where people were putting in kind of mega mileage. I remember going to college in the first 5 weeks, averaging about 105 miles a week,
Wow.
In the fall, getting ready for cross country. But that wasn't that much of a transition because of the way we worked in high school. We didn't put in that kind of mileage, but we really put in the hard work. So that discipline of just, the value of applying yourself, it just has a long-lasting, carryover. And, and not only that, I think with running, especially with cross-country, because you're out there for a longer period of time than a sprint or something like that, just the idea of learning how to push through discomfort,
mm-hmm.
It carries over, because there's a lot of times in life where we're not comfortable about the situation that we're in. But it has that effect, just keep on keeping on. And then also, as I look back, your team means so much, but I think about my high school teammates, and one of them became a doctor, one of them became a pharmacist, one of them was a foreman of construction crew, and one of them was a successful employee of a major corporation, and a fireman and teachers and coaches, and something to be said for what our coaches instilled in us, as to be just productive people. And so there's so many things that I've learned, in my life through our athletics, through running.
Right. Discipline is a great thing to learn, and it doesn't come easy at first, but as you said, the more you practice it, the more it becomes part of who you are. And I do believe, like you said, Tony, that it brings you into greater things, like your classmates and like what you've done. You just don't give up. You just keep going. You don't give yourself that option to give up. How long have you been a coach?
I started coaching in the fall of 1977 at Davis County High School. And, of course, I spent all of my coaching career, my high school career at that school, just a great situation for us. And then this is the start of my 7th year at Kentucky Wesleyan. So actually this fall I will begin my 44th year of coaching.
Wow. Congratulations. You are an outstanding coach. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, everyone would agree that you are. And I really think, Tony, because God has used you for His greater purposes and you've allowed Him to use you, we have to allow Him. We have to be obedient to Him. So God positioned you in that high school and in that college for His purposes so that you could bring those young men and women closer to Christ by your faith. I wanted to ask you, how do you incorporate your faith as a coach?
Well, when I was at Davis County, we did some things like we would pretty much have daily team prayer. Sometimes I would lead it. Sometimes I would ask, athletes if they would lead it, and I think that's a good thing, because when a young person has the courage to lead a team prayer or something like that, in a public situation type thing, that kind of expands their faith and gives and I like that. But we had team prayer, and And we always said the Lord's Prayer before a race or something like that. But sometimes we would get specific in prayer and in needs, and I wanted to create an environment in all my coaching situations where Christian kids felt just as comfortable about their faith and sharing their faith and expanding their faith. I wanted that to be the norm.
Got you.
And so that's kind of the environment that I tried to create. But, at Davis County also we would wear, verses on the back of our shirts and that kind of thing. That kind of spread out and got to be a popular thing, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, Tony, let's take a break real quick, and we're going to take a break, and we'll come right back with you, okay?
Okay.
So everyone stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Shaped by Faith. Welcome back to Shaped by Faith, where we shape our bodies and hearts for God's purposes. On the phone is Tony Rowe. He is a cross-country and track coach at KWC. He's done so many things in his career, and we're talking with Tony about how he incorporates his faith into his coaching style. So, Tony, I want you to go ahead and continue with our conversation.
Well, we were talking about, ways to share your faith as a coach and how we did that at Davis County, and the Lord opened, doors. And now I'm at Kentucky Wesleyan, which is a faith-based school. And it's interesting because the conversations, that you have with college students tend to be a little deeper. They're at a period of their lives where, there's some things going on that are going to make a huge difference. They're looking for a career and what's next in their life, and they care about the athletics and stuff like that. So it seems like the conversations are a little bit more serious. And then what I found is that I have been able to have a lot of one-on-one conversations with those athletes, and they come in with needs and about situations in their lives and stuff like that. And you just have to be available to them. You have to be open to their needs. And I've had some real meaningful times just one-on-one with athletes, and we would normally, I like to try to share a prayer with them and pray for their needs and that kind of thing. So that's a real ministry in itself. And, coaching is like anything else that God gives you to do. It's really your mission field.
Right.
It's your chance to share Christ with other people. And so I've been blessed to be able to do that.
Well, let's talk about what happened this year in mid-March. You had a health scare, right, regarding your heart. Tell us about the day you were out running and you experienced symptoms that were not normal for you.
Well, I don't run as much as I used to, but I have kind of a 3 or 4 mile loop that I like to run. And that particular day I went out and I got about a half mile into my run, and I started having some pain in my neck. And then it went down into my lower chest on my left side. And I started feeling in my shoulder and in my biceps and triceps and eventually in my arm, And I know the symptoms of a heart attack, but I kind of shrugged it off and thought, okay, as an athlete, you think, you learn how to run through the pain, and,
right.
And you think you're healthy and that kind of thing, and you think that you're going to live forever. I guess you get that mindset and tough it out. So I tried to make excuses in my own mind about what it could be. I actually stopped and kind of went away, and I continued my run, and I finished my run. Didn't run again for about a week for different things going on, and I had the same thing happen, and then I didn't run again for another 5 or 6 days, and the third time it happened, I thought this is not good, which is probably a little bit stubborn on my part.
You think, Tony?
Yeah, waiting too long because I know the symptoms. Being a health teacher for years and stuff like that. You know the symptoms of heart attacks and strokes.
Right.
And so I called the doctor. I called the heart doctor, and because I'd had AFib back in the summer from probably from sleep apnea. and they had to shock my heart back into rhythm in September, and all that has gone great. And it's like, my goal, Theresa, always had been to, I want a healthy enough heart, and I took pride in that with running and everything, and the low heart rate and that kind of thing. And my goal had always been to, when I die, I want them to have to beat my heart to death with a stick. I want to be that healthy, my heart. And but that wasn't the situation, and so I felt those symptoms, and so the doctor, when I went to the doctor, he set me up. I went to my regular doctor first, and he set me up with with a heart doctor, and then she said, well, we want you to come in and do a treadmill test. And I did that and an echocardiogram, and I thought that it would take several days to go through these steps. They were going to come back with results later. But while I was in the office, she said, we got some bad readings. Things don't look right on this. We want you to hang around a little bit. We're going to let some other doctors look at it. And long story short, while I was there, they did a heart cath. They said, you've got a 95% blockage in your main artery of your heart, what they call a widowmaker. Mm-hmm. And they showed me images of it afterward, and it was pretty severe. And they said, we can do a couple of things. We can put a stent in, or we can do open heart surgery. And I said, let's opt for the stent. If that doesn't work, we'll go open heart surgery. So it was quite an experience, I tell you, and it wasn't something that I expected to, at this point in my life. I didn't expect heart issues. Mm-hmm.
But by the grace of God, you're still living, because especially, when you were explaining, you went on the run and you felt those symptoms, you waited, you went again, then you waited, went again. By the grace of God, you're still living and walking around. And I think it's so important, Tony, that people have awareness. I think as an athlete, you have awareness how your body's moving, how you're breathing, how you're functioning. And it's just really important to pay attention to those signs and symptoms, It
really is. Mm-hmm. And one thing I'll tell you, Theresa, also is the doctor that did the surgery said, because of the years of exercise you had collateral circulation around that blockage, which kept that from being a more, probably kept me from having the heart attack,
mm-hmm.
And that goes back again to the exercise and the running and the extra capillaries and that kind of thing. It kept that blood flowing around that blockage. So exercise is important.
Absolutely. Tony, when I've gone through 2 open heart surgeries, and I know they've come a long way with open heart surgery, and I really didn't want to go through either one of them, but by the grace of God, He made a way. But doctors have come a long way, knowing that even if you're out there exercising, now they're not just looking on the outside saying, oh, he or she looks healthy. They're actually taking a look and saying, well, maybe something could be going on, like the heart or something like that. So I'm just thankful to God and that God obviously sustained you through this time, because that's hard as an athlete to go through something like that. How long was it before you were out running again?
A couple of days after the surgery, I was walking, and then 2 weeks later, they released me to start running a little bit. So Pam and I have been walking 3 or 4 miles in the morning, and sometimes if we don't walk, I'm running, or sometimes I'll come back with a jog later on. So, but they said, hey, you can go out and run a marathon if you want to, which I'm not ready for that. But it was a couple of weeks after the surgery.
So you don't have any physical limitations now put on you? You can do anything you want?
None at all, except for getting old, and we're trying to slow that down with exercise.
Our latter years are supposed to be better, Tony, right?
Oh, yes, that's right.
You're going to enjoy this time. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the church, and we're going to talk about your involvement with the church and reopening and what that looks like. So everyone stay tuned for more Shaped by Faith coming up next. Welcome back to Shape by Faith, where we shape our bodies and hearts for God's purposes. My guest on the phone is Tony Rowe. He is a cross-country and track coach at KWC. And Tony, I've really enjoyed getting to talk to you about your love of coaching, and also, about that health scare you just had in the heart and the importance of paying attention to our own body signs, so we need to make everyone aware to pay attention to that. But now let's talk about the church. You're a member of Maceo Baptist Church. You serve as a deacon there. And so I understand you're very involved with the church in the reopening of their services, which is going on now. How has God been speaking to you during this time? What has He been speaking to your heart about, Tony?
Well, obviously, we've had a lot of opportunities to serve during this time. I'm as you said, a deacon, and we lost our pastor, Brother Scott Ford, about a year ago. So the deacons have been very involved in the operation of the church. But God, I think, is speaking to all of us during this time. I think it's almost like He's given us a reprieve, a time to just kind of slow down and reevaluate, similar to 9/11, to 9/11. But it seemed like after 9/11, everybody was back in church, but it was kind of like patriotism. But I don't think there was a pure change of heart, And maybe He's kind of given us another reprieve to look at that. I'm as a Bible believer, I believe in end time prophecy, and I think that the gospel has been shared more. The Bible talks about it's going to be shared to the ends of the earth before Christ's return. And I think it's been shared more during this time than it ever has been with the online services and things like that. And we've been a part of that. But it's also not only that, you can see other things like it's very easy to see that the government can control our lives. How quickly have things been shut down, and the governor says, the government that says, this is closed and that's closed and schools are out of session, that kind of thing. And then, it kind of plays into an eventual maybe one world order. And if you know anything about Bible prophecy, you know how that will come into play.
Yes.
But the main thing is, I just think that it's a reprieve, and I think that revival for the church can spring forth out of this situation, and that's really exciting.
I totally agree with you. And I've been really, doing the same thing. I'm in the Word more. I feel like God has given us a reset, hit that reset button to renew our own hearts, our own relationship with Him, and to tell others about Him. And I think it's the perfect opportunity for the churches to reach out, especially, like you said, online. I mean, what a wonderful testimony, and how wonderful it is to see on social media all these church services going on, throughout the week, on Wednesdays and certainly on Sundays. But God's name is lifted up on high, and that's incredible. Tony, our time is out. I think we could have talked an hour nonstop. And I appreciate you and all that you bring to our community. Thank you so much for what you do, and keep on keeping on, okay?
Well, you too. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, Tony. And thank you for listening to Shape by Faith. I'm Theresa Rowe. Everyone have a blessed day. Bye.